This episode is sponsored by everyone you've ever ghosted, you animal.
Hey, you seem like a regular guy.
Relationships are tricky. Damn tricky. Sometimes just when you think you found a situation that truly makes you happy, it can all blow up in your face. And sometimes that unhappiness is the result of factors that are simply out of your control. No matter how much you work on yourself or try to communicate, there are just some situations that are doomed to come to a natural conclusion. But in a way, I find that rather comforting. I think that most of us can relate to a relationship that suddenly went sour in one way or another, meaning that a lot of us will be able to sympathize with the sudden breakup that Luanne goes through in this episode. And for the chosen few of you out there who did manage to find your soulmate right away and never went through any sort of heartbreak, try to hold on to that happiness as best as you can, because there's no guarantees in life, and you may find that someone is falling out of your window one day.
Damn it, this neighborhood is turning into Melrose Place.
Now, up until this point in the series, we've really been missing out on a certain someone. We've gotten plenty of Hank and Bobby goodness, and even a fair shake of Peggy here and there, but there's one individual that has remained unseen and unfocused on who will remain a mainstay of the show, and frankly, I can't really picture King of the Hill without them. And yes, today we'll be talking about the legendary and universally beloved Chuck Mangione. So this was Chuck's first appearance on the show, and right off the bat, right out the gate, we already get to hear his signature song, Feels So Good, during the exercise tape where Bobby, Luanne, and Hank... not Hank! Where Bobby, Luanne, and Peggy are all doing their exercise tape, and later we get to see him being a sponsor for King of the Hill's version of Walmart, Megalomart. And throughout the show, Chuck would go on to...
Stop, you got the wrong character!
Wait, what's that?
It's not about Chuck, you fucking idiot!
Chuck's not the focus of the episode.
No!
Well, then who is?
Isn't it neat? I'll be going from Daddy to you to Buckley.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey, Luanne.
Oh good, even better, so let's talk about Luanne. And as a reminder, she's the daughter of Peggy's brother, which makes her Hank's niece and Bobby's cousin. She's currently living at the Hill House because her mother stabbed her father with a fork, meaning that she's something of an unexpected factor in Hank's otherwise predictable life. Now let's get a little real here. I have to say that Luanne was voiced by the delightful and utterly heartwarming actress Brittany Murphy. Murphy would voice Luanne throughout the entire show, but would sadly pass away in 2009 at the tragically young age of only 32. And before we speak more about Luanne, I want to give Brittany Murphy herself a chance to talk about the character. Here's a little bit of an interview that she gave regarding her feelings about Luanne and how she tends to view the character.
Luanne is a typical trailer trash teenager. She's a joy to be. She's bright and she lightens up all the dark corners of my head. She comes from the brightest, most corner of my brain. She's very happy and joyous and very hysterical.
As we continue to go through the series, we'll get to see how Luanne changes and evolves throughout the show, but at this beginning stage, I really want to give a lot of appreciation for how much energy and charm Brittany brought to the character, and I have to say that I have all the respect for her in the world. And you may not know this, but she actually also voiced Joseph in the first 4 seasons of the show, and I think her talent there is a little underappreciated. She does a great job with Joseph. But really, she knocked it out of the park with whatever role she was given, and I think especially she did a great job with Luanne. And while I have some conflicting feelings about the upcoming revival of King of the Hill, it's really, truly sad and tragic to know that Brittany Murphy won't be a part of it. I'm really just torn up about that. But there's no point in remaining maudlin about all of this. Instead, let's make Brittany proud and enjoy the legacy that she's left behind. And I think that's really what all actors want out of life, to continue to entertain and delight even after they're gone. So with all of that said, how does the first big Luanne episode do? Well, let's find out. It opens with Luanne and Peggy doing a little at-home exercise, and believe me, as a child of the 90s, I can attest that fitness tapes at that time were very common and very popular. Bobby even comes in and gets in on the action.
Hi, Uncle Hank.
Shut that off. Bobby, stop dancing now.
As Hank flees the tightening of thighs and buttocks, we get a view of Luanne's room, which used to be Hank's den. But Hank might soon be getting his room back, as Luanne believes that her boyfriend, Buckley, might be gearing up to ask her to move in with him. Now, Buckley is actually a character we've gotten to see before. He was the guy that Hank fired at the Megalo Mart in the very first episode. We don't actually know how Luanne and Buckley got together, but I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that it probably has something to do with the fact that they're both young people and within 8,000 miles of each other. But what's really important is the fact that Buckley actually, sorry Luanne, isn't going to seal the deal here and ask her to move in with him. In fact, he's throwing Luanne away like a watered-down Wii U. What's even worse about this is that we aren't told why Buckley broke up with her. And I think this was because the focus isn't so much on the reasoning of, why they broke up or how justifiable it is, but rather the raw emotion of suddenly having the rug pulled out from under you. However, if I were going to make an educated guess about why they broke up, I think there's two primary possibilities. Either A, the relationship was too demanding for lazy-ass Buckley, who seems, just like he's got no energy to do anything. Or B, like many young men, Buckley might think that he's a real hot stud who's being limited by his relationship and wants to spend his youth sleeping around with as many girls as he can. And for any young guys out there who are hearing this, believe me, trust me, take it from an older, wiser guy who's been there, done that. For the love of God, please don't take option B ever, especially if you're in a loving relationship with a wonderful person. Sex is honestly pretty easy to find, but love gets harder and harder to hold on to as you get older. Stay by your lady. Believe me, you may think you're hot shit in a champagne glass today, but in a few years, you'll be cold diarrhea in a Dixie cup, and you'll be kicking yourself for throwing away such a great relationship over nothing. Alright, lecture over. Back to Luanne. How's she doing?
What the hell was that?
That was a breakup. At least that's what it was the last time I ran into the house crying.
Oh god, I have a set of pictures just like that too, Luanne. This hits too damn close to home. I have to say, I appreciate the change of outfit that Luanne goes through here. She's in her depressed clothes, and that's such an amazing little touch of humanization. But of course, Hank won't just let Luanne alone to vent, he just has to be the center of attention at all times. Way to go, Hank!
Hey, I was almost killed at work
Okay,
today.
Hank, please. Try and be sensitive.
Also, quick little side note, apparently this shit on their plates is supposed to be fish sticks? I don't know what kind of chocolate-covered fish sticks people are making around here, but it looks not so good. And actually, this is a good time to bring up some of the weird animation choices throughout the episode. Normally, I wouldn't get into such an endless weed field, because there's so many things that I could be picking apart, but, that's not normally my thing. However, there are a lot of little weird things in this episode that I really want to bring up. In fact, let's get ourselves a mini montage going, shall we? I present to you the Gallery of Strangeness.
Ah! Don't scare me like that.
Excellent. Back to the plot. While in bed, Peggy says that Luanne will be depressed for at least another 3 weeks, which is how long Luanne and Buckley were together. And actually, now that I think about it, it's interesting that Luanne was already hoping that Buckley would ask her to move in with him after only 3 weeks? Is that normal? I don't know. That's that's interesting for a more conservative sort of show like this to say, hey, after less than a month, get the hell out of your parents, aunts, uncle's house and get into bed. Get over there. But, then again, those throbbing biological urges can definitely speed things up. Not wanting to wait for Luanne's mood to improve, Hank decides to take things into his own hands.
You look pretty.
I was dumped.
3 words, nothing more. You look pretty. Nothing more.
Why aren't you saying anything?
When Peggy's advice fails, Hank tells Luanne to shove her emotions into the pit of her stomach, repressing all of her loud and disruptive feelings, just like Bill does.
He went through the worst divorce this county's ever seen, but you never see him crying.
Good man. From here, Hank honestly does a great job of calming Luanne down, listening to her feelings about Buckley and sharing a bit of cookie dough here and there, which leads to this frankly adorable exchange.
They make ice cream with cookie dough already in it.
Damn, sister, get me my keys.
Can we just appreciate how much effort Hank is putting into making his niece feel better? At first, it just seems like he's doing it because, well, she's making him uncomfortable, but there's a genuine feeling of emotion here that is just so sweet. I know Hank is usually thought of as the most emotionally disconnected person ever, but here's where he's treating Luanne as any good father figure would, and I absolutely love it. He even learns a little way of diffusing a tense situation with Peggy.
This is a natural process, and you cannot manipulate.
You know, you look pretty.
Really? Oh, Hank. Well, that's sweet.
Although here's where Hank goes into a bit of a misstep. He is so eager to get Luanne a new boyfriend that he gets his whole crew in on the search. And while it's easy to say that Hank is just doing this to get his den back, I think the point of this is that he does genuinely want to see his niece happy again and is really trying to fix her problems in the best and fastest way he can. Why do I say this? Well, because after this search, Buckley comes back trying to win Luanne and Hank tells him to beat it. I guess Mr. Hot Stuff learned he wasn't such top shelf shit after all, If Hank really wanted Luanne to get out and nothing else, he could have told Buckley to come back later, just in case things didn't work out with the guy Hank picked out for her. But hey, hold on, whoa there, let's take a step back a bit, I'm jumping ahead. The search takes place at a place called Ugly's Saloon, which is a parody of Coyote Ugly's, which itself is a very popular sort of barnyard saloon that's common in Texas. If you've ever seen the movie Urban Cowboy, then you'll know that these sorts of places are the height of refined culture and flirtation.
I'm gonna look for a guy with a round, muscular butt.
It's interesting to see what kind of guys that Hank considers suitable mates for Luanne. Did I just say mates? What the fuck? This isn't a nature program, Jesus Christ.
Possible.
We also get perhaps the first true instance of Dale's incredible blindness to the relationship between his wife and John Redcorn. This is also where we get to see the first of Boomhauer's natural charm with women and Bill's one-sided infatuation with Peggy. While Dale is busy complimenting guys at the urinal, Hank starts chatting up this star-spangled eyesore and pushes Luanne into meeting him. Apparently, he's so confident that the two would hit it off that he just leaves Luanne at the bar with this guy. What the fuck? Now back at the Hill House, Buckley shows up and we get this brilliant exchange between him and Hank.
That's Buckley. Those better be for me.
Nah, they're for me for later.
Okay, I guess never forget to treat yourself, gentlemen. So you want to know what's weird? The show treats Hank like he's done some awful thing by getting Luanne into a rebound situation, and maybe that's true, but Peggy then scolds Hank for shooing away Buckley because, quote, she wants to get back together with him. And I don't know about you, but that sounds way worse than the rebound rule. If someone dumps you without a good reason and then comes crawling back, then it's pretty clear that either they wanted to try dating someone else and failed, or have general commitment issues. Have a little dignity, Peggy, for God's sakes. Ugh. Anyway, what's even weirder than that mess is this trippy-ass feminism fever dream that Hank goes through while Peggy is scolding him. And I don't know what the fuck Hank ate at that bar, but if he's now seeing this shit, I need no less than a metric ton of whatever he got his hands on, my goodness. And while I'm waiting for that order to go through, we now get the massive displeasure of seeing Luanne give old Boomhauer a kiss, which is just weird to see. Ugh. Thankfully, Boomhauer makes it pretty clear pretty quick that he isn't interested in Luanne and was only giving her a lift.
A lift? Is that what they're calling it these days?
Boomhauer's intense disinterest in Luanne keeps this from going into nightmare territory, but it is still rather unpleasant to see Hank and Luanne getting into a screaming match over what is essentially one fat nothing burger. And once Luanne's out of the house, Hank immediately sets to blowing and shoveling Luanne's stuff out, and Peggy takes this time to spell out the central message of this last act, just in case you were wondering what the heck we're doing here.
The only reason you are this upset is because you care so much about Luanne.
I have to say, this final act doesn't really resonate with me as much as the first two do. There's just, I don't know, a lot of bitterness and a somber sense of loss here that feels a little out of place. I don't know, it just feels a bit like we're rolling around on the floor waiting for the inevitable reconciliation, although I do love this Bobby moment.
Dad, it's Luanne. Hey Dad, can't you hear me? Luanne, right behind you.
And it's also pretty tough to see how badly Hank treats Luanne at this restaurant. I get he's upset, but boy is he cold as ice.
Look at, she's crying again. I guess she just got dumped by her new boyfriend, Boomhauer.
And yet, by the next day, either Hank has had a change of heart or finally decided to stop eating his emotions, because when Luanne comes by to pick up her stuff, we see that Hank has done something rather special to his den.
I was moving stuff around, and it seems that the room looks a little better this way.
It's a very, very unapologetically sappy ending, but one that is surprisingly authentic. And I feel like a lot of guys who aren't good at expressing themselves verbally will instead do these little acts of kindness, either through doing crafts or by doing work with their hands. And in that regard, this allows us to get a really meaningful reconciliation from Hank without him having to completely break down or become a more open character. Of all of the endings of Season 1, I think that this one is by far the strongest of them all. It demonstrates that Hank really does value Luanne, even if he doesn't fully understand or relate to her. You can see the love here, and it just makes you feel damn good. I guess his standoffishness and hurt reaction to Luanne does help to deepen and add value to the ending, but it does feel just a little too mean-spirited in the moment. Still, this is easily the best ending of the season, for me, so far. So what is there to say about Luanne's big breakup? Well, it introduces a lot of pep and energy into the show, which was definitely needed after the super chill Willie Nelson episode. It turns Luanne into more of a three-dimensional character and gets Hank into an entirely new sort of situation. And hey, you can't go wrong with the episode that introduces Chuck Mangione. A really strong showing this time, one of the best of Season 1. But hey, I don't even want to mention the number 1 anymore, because the next episode is 100% focused on the Titanic number 2.
Bobby, put that down. You do not know where it's been, honey.
God, I'm already looking forward to that fantastic movement. You know, movement, as in the musical kind, the arrangement of sound, yes? Hey, let's get a sample. God, I love sampling that movement. But that's for next time. Until then, we can say that this episode, Luanne's Saga, has indeed been reviewed to death. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye, boy. See you in hell.